All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest for you. Let me give you a couple of words about my guest. Gospel, singer, speaker, author, all the way from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Give it up for Miss Lonna Hardin. How are you?
I am excited to be here, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm doing amazing.
All right. Hey, you know what? I love it. Man, I want to talk about you because you have some very interesting things going on here. Now, I said these words beforehand, and I talked about gospel, and I talked about singer. So you have a single, you do have a single, but you have an EP out called Seated. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what's that about?
Absolutely. So, yeah, Seated was released this year earlier during COVID, which was interesting because everybody's seated right now, right, around the world, right?
They are.
And Seated was it was inspired. And so every song on it, I've actually had to go through something to get each song. So every song came out of a place of me going through something really big in my life, you know. So Seated in particular came, my mother had a brain aneurysm and she had a stroke on both sides of her brain. She was in the hospital for about 5 months. And I was attempting to go back to school in my 20s, and I was walking around campus, and all of a sudden I started hearing these words: far above principalities, far above the rulers of the darkness of the world, far above, that's where I'm seated. That's where I'm seated. And it was just so clear. And, you know, after the song came to me, it was like there were different times in my life where I literally had to remind myself that I was seated no matter what was going on, and I wasn't going to be shaken. And so that's really where Seated was birthed out of. And I just find it really interesting because, again, you know, here it is years later and everyone is seated. And and I'll tell you another story about one of the songs, which is Divinely Surrounded. So every song came out of something. It's Seated, it's Divinely Surrounded, and then it's Sons of God. And Divinely Surrounded came last December. I was actually in prayer, and I was praying, and all of a sudden I started hearing these words, and I started singing them over my friends. I started singing them over my family. And after that, I would meet people and I'd be like, hey, can I sing this song over you? And I would sing the song, and don't you know, like 2.5 months later, that's when COVID hit.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful to say, like, my heart does go out for those that have lost loved ones, and everything. But I'm very grateful to say, by the grace of God, none of my family members, none of my extended family have suffered or passed from COVID. And I just thank God for the sensitivity. You know, sometimes something as simple as a song can be a prayer too. So.
And that's true. Well, you know, so it's funny because I was going to ask this later, but I'm going to ask it now. So about inspiration, where does, like, you know, like I always like to ask music, you know, and people who create music, like, where does your inspiration come from to create whatever, you know, whatever it is you're going to play, whatever it is you're going to write, like, where does that inspiration come from? So you talked a little bit more about it, but can you just give us a little bit more, like, about that inspiration?
Yeah. So I'm going to be really honest with you. Okay. I am what they call a prophetic singer. So doing this CD was a little bit of an interesting space for me, to be honest, because I feel like my music is so different. Right. Yes. But it was interesting because the feedback that I got, everyone wanted different. People wanted, and so it's really been quite, like, not overwhelming, but it's been like, man, because for a while I was like, what, should I put this out? Should I not? But in terms of inspiration, most of my music comes from prayer. It comes from me going through something. So even Sons of God, I remember when I wrote Sons of God, I actually felt like I had failed God, literally. Like, I was in prayer, bawling, crying, like mad about just where I was at. And all of a sudden I started hearing these words, you know, now are we the sons of God now. And it doesn't appear what we shall be, but when we see him. And it's like all this revelation just opened up that, like, you know, we go through these different things with God. God, and every time he'll reveal himself to us in a different way. And when we see him in those ways, it's not really failure. It's an opportunity for us to transform and change. And so honestly, even now, it's interesting because I've received more songs this year than I have at any other time in my life. And they've all been basically songs of being able to move you from one place and one frame of mind to another. And that's what I mean by prophetic, you know, a shift in your thinking and a shift in your situation. So thanks. That's where my inspiration comes from. And my mother, of course, she was a singer-songwriter too. So
okay, well, you know what? Look. Shout out to Mom's mom. We ain't thinking about you. We gonna talk about you later on, but you know, I just had to get that out. But no, you know what? I think that is great because you have to have a, you know, inner introspective about things. And man, as you said, as you're going through, you know, prayer and, you know, things of this nature, it just comes to you. So, hey, look, man, if that's what works for Lonna Hardin,
and let me tell you something that I don't even really get a chance to share. So the thing is, I was always inspired by like Whitney Houston, you know, all the greats, you know, when we were growing up, you know, Aretha Franklin, Patti. So I would be mimicking, you know, them and, you know, and all those good things. But the truth is, when I was a little girl, I couldn't sing. So this is a true story. My sister could sing. My sister was like a phenomenal singer and people would just give her standing ovations. Me, I wanted to sing, but I couldn't. I'm going to be honest with you because it's a true story. And honestly, I would pray and I'd be like, Lord God, please let me, like I literally would spend time even as a child. This is what's funny. So my whole gift was really birthed out of prayer. It's true. Like, it's a true story. So I would pray. And then I would start singing a little better. But then when I would get in front of people, I would be nervous. I'd tense up. I'd be cracking notes. So then I'd pray some more like, Lord, please. So my whole ministry and gift of song has been birthed from a place of prayer. And it's just intensified over the years. So that's a true story that I'm telling you.
Hey, you know what? I am glad that you look, man. No story is worthless, and I'm glad to hear that now. Come on now, look here. This is all about the truth here. Now, let's just go back to your EP for a second. Like, do you have any plans for like a video? You got plans for an album? Anything of that?
I have a plan for a full album. I do have a lot of other songs. I want to give a shout out to my producer, Chip Dixon. Amazing producer. He's worked with a lot of people, including, you know, Marvin Sapp. He's worked with William Murphy, like just you can name a bunch of people. He's even worked with some secular artists, Chris Brown, a lot of different people. So I definitely want to give him accolades. And then I'm definitely planning to do a full album and a video and all of those things. So we're expecting a lot of traction from it. Right now it's been picked up actually overseas, which has been awesome. Okay. In France and London and New Zealand and that. So I'm super excited about what's to come.
Okay, all right. Okay. So like what inspired the release of the EP? Like what made you just want to release this EP?
Oh my gosh, you know, you can do an interview, can't you?
Talk to us. Like,
I'm hard.
I gotta know, like, what inspired this EP? Because seriously, like, you know, as you said, like, and I think you hear, you know, you like hinted on it earlier, like during this time of COVID, you had time to be seated, as your single says, you had time to be seated. And I just feel like, man, sometimes when you have that time to be still, that's when all the creativity just like, it just, man, when it comes, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's almost like a typhoon. So you just have to like be prepared. And so I want to know where did all that inspiration come from to do this?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, wow, you asked this question, and you know, and I'm a very like honest person, so I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was running around doing everything else. I mean, I know you've been to my website. You see, I have children's books. I was working on a startup. I was doing all these things, and literally, and I had actually kind of given up. I'm gonna be honest on the whole singing and music thing. I was like, you know what? because I always wanted to sing. I always wanted to be a star. Like that was who I was, right?
Yeah,
and so I was like, but for years, I kind of, you still have to live, right? So it's like, do you really pursue this or what? So I was running around doing all these different things, and they were successful, and I was getting great feedback. But again, last year I got really quiet, like you just said. I just got quiet, and through the beginning of the year I was really reflective on purpose and why were you born and what are you supposed to be doing. And I actually started to seek God and pray about it. And truthfully, it was crazy because the books were a part of it, but the music is who I am, and everything, even my books, came out of music. And so it was like, you need to do this. And if it doesn't work, at least you did it, because that's what I put in you to do. And so that's actually how I was like, well, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And from the moment I decided to do it, everything lined up. And it was just like, literally like God breathed on the project. Literally.
There you go. See, hey, it's that internal coming out, and it's just manifesting itself. And now here we are.
Yeah,
look here.
Here we are.
I love it. Now, you a Midwest girl now, shouts out to the Midwest, there we go.
Right.
Tell us about you growing up, man. Like you did talk about some of your influences, like with Whitney, Patty, but how did like music like really play a role in your life growing up, pretty much to this point?
Yeah. So here's the thing. My mother was a songwriter and she was a singer. Oh, yeah. And it was always her goal to sing. And so I grew up hearing these stories about her, like literally writing songs and sending them to Motown when she was in the 8th grade. And then Motown sent her a contract and she never sent it back. And one word was changed. And it was like 2 songs that she actually wrote and gave away, and they became hits. I won't talk about them today because I don't want that. But I mean, if I sung them right now, you know them. And so I used to hear all these stories, and she used to tell us, like, you need to make sure you're doing your copywriting. You need to make sure you're doing this. When we were little, she bought a little home studio, and she was trying to get us to like learn music and everything. And then when I went to family reunions, my family would get together and we would be singing and everything, right? And I was raised in the church. So sung on the church choir, sung on the praise team. And so all of that was all I knew growing up. And that was how I learned to express myself. And I was that girl that, I would go to class and the teacher would be talking and I'd be like, can I sing? And they'd be like, and I'd be like, no, seriously. They'd ignore me next day. So can I sing today? And then finally they give in and I'd be up at the front, singing and everything. And so, music was like my trademark, right? And even today, I'm so sensitive to sounds and songs and music. And like, I don't know, I feel like the world could just talk in music and we'd be okay.
Hey, no, you know what? I totally feel that. Look. Trust me, I'm married. Sometimes I talk in song to my wife. She just looks at me. But
you're gonna be surprised when she starts singing back, though.
Oh no, you know what she does every now and then. She hits me with like, the second, third verse. I'm like, you know what? I wasn't going that far into the song, but no, you know what? I like that. I love it. So man, look. And I just feel like, being such a songbird, sometimes, man, like, you take in all those vibrations of music, the sounds, lyrics, arrangements, what have you. And all those things play a key into who you are. So hats off to Miss Lonna Hardin. All right. So look, let's talk about you being an author. Now, you have a, children's book and educational curriculum called Melanie's Song Series. All right, tell us more about that and how can we get our hands on it if someone wants it?
So Melody's Song is a book about a little girl who lives in a city that's powered by music. And so every 30 days, somebody writes the town song to power the city for 30 days. And she just knows that her song is going to be chosen to change the world. But every time she goes to sing, something crazy happens. She opens her mouth to sing and frogs come out. Another time she opens her mouth to sing and her feet run backwards the other direction. So the kids are always making fun of her, but her mom keeps saying, "You're a special little girl." So one day at school, she announces a talent show. She's like, yes, it's my time to do it. I'm going to shine. Her mom says, "Melody, don't do it." What do you think she does?
She does it anyway.
She does it anyway. A hand comes out. It scratches the chalkboard from top to bottom. Butterflies fly everywhere. She's devastated, and she says she will never sing again. And that's when her mom tells her the secret. When she was born, it was foretold she would be the girl with the golden voice. And that's when the voice snatchers started attacking the city, kidnapping the singers to power their own dark city. And to protect her, her mother took her voice and had it sealed away. Now, I won't tell you the ending, but it's a powerful story about self-confidence, self-love, self-identity, and self-awareness. And you can actually get the book. It's available on my site. It's available at melodysong.com or lonnahardin.com. And it's also available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at digital retailers around the world.
Innovative and profound. I'm telling you now. Hey, like the lady said, go get it. You know, I like it. You know, I love the concept. I love the story because that's just what we need today. You know, we need to think outside the box. We need to have our imaginations working. And for you to come up with that whole, look, I'm interested. You know, I'm trying to see if there's going to be a YouTube series. Are we going to TV with it? Like, man, like that's pretty great. That's pretty great. So hats off to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No problem. So what's next for you? What's next for Lonna Hardin?
Wow. So I've been writing a faith-based book series, which has been released. I'm also starting a show called Flawless, which is for women, mentoring women that have been hurt and need healing, really to get us prepared and to be the best we can be. So that launches next week, as a matter of fact. So I'm super excited about that. And then it's just, you know, my book, speaking, coaching. I'm a teacher by nature. So I typically write from a place of pouring into other people. Mm-hmm. And so I just released a book called Lord of Economic Kingdoms. And that has come out, and then Sons of God, which will also be out in the next 2 weeks, and then also 2 or 3, which talks about the power of prayer and agreement. So I've been busy this year just writing books, and I expect to continue that trend through 2021.
Look, you know what? So let me just ask this question too. I'm just gonna throw this question in because we hear so much negative about 2020. You know, 2020's been this and 2020's been that, and rightfully so. But if there's something positive that 2020 has taught you, what is that positive?
Man, you asked some good questions. I'm saying that because I didn't come on here really to share, but I'm so grateful I have the opportunity. You know, I told my daughter, I said that I wanted to spend the rest of December thanking God every day, every time I thought about just this year and how good he's been. And I say that to say, in my mind, this was one of the best years of my life. And I know that's not the case for some people. And I think that the reason it was is because I keep telling you that I got quiet last year. Mm-hmm. And so I went into December with my ears open, with my heart open, and really I repositioned where I was putting my faith, right? And so I think for me, it is that God is my source, you know, and that he truly is my source. And I think so many times we put so much into things and people and all of these things that at the end of the day, when it's said and done, it's going to be gone and it's not going to mean anything. True. So I think if you have your right mind, if you're just even being here talking to you and having a sense of community and people coming together, and like ingenuity even since then. People have had to like, you know, use different methods. So for me, it's just been a great year. And I don't know how to, when I hear people saying it hasn't been that great, I'm like, man, I think because it caught so many people by surprise, you know. But for me, it was like, man, I'm seated and I'm okay with it. Because I'd rather be resting and seated than running around doing a bunch of stuff that's not going to get me to my expected end, you know.
And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it all comes back to the EP seated, you know. It all comes back to the EP. So what she's trying to tell y'all is to go out there and get that EP, because that's what's going on.
Get it.
So, I didn't want to tell you, but you know, she wanted to be cool about it. I'm just going to tell you she wanted to get it. Okay. All right. So, Miss Lonna Hardin, if people wanted to get in contact with you, how can people get in touch with you?
So they can definitely go to lonnahardin.com and send me, you know, an email. They can also follow me on Facebook, Lonna Hardin Live, and also on Instagram, Lonna_Hardin, on all my social channels, which is also available on the website.
Okay, all right. So now this brings us to our last question, the question that my show is known for, so I have to ask. Miss Lonna Hardin, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
Flawless.
Okay, I like that.
Flawless.
Why?
Flawless. Because I believe that everyone possesses the power to shine like a diamond. And diamonds are multidimensional. Diamonds, you have to crush them and go beyond the surface to get the jewel out. And even the flaws make it one of a kind.
Okay, all right. Okay, hey. Snaps for her. All right. Hey, look here, I have nothing to say. But I'm going to say this, you know, if I can pick a word, actually I have two words. Illuminating perspective. And those are my words. And the reason why those are my words, you know, pretty much are because you have to have perspective to go through everything that you've gone through and to, you know, man, look, I was here, now I'm here, and now I'm talking about it. I'm being a vessel, I'm being a vehicle for, you know, change for you and for everyone else. Trust me, I've been through that, you know, and the light has to come on for you to, like, you know, do that as well. So there you go. All right. Enough said. All right, man. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. You can catch me on social media on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Word with Ty Brownlow. Follow me on Twitter at Ty Brownlow TV. Or, man, just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this interview plus other great interviews. And I want to thank my very special guest, Miss Lonna Hardin, for coming out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ty, for having me.
No problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we out. Peace.